Welcome everyone, I am Mr. C. Behind the camera once again is Mr. Don. We are here in one of our studios of the Detroit Children's Museum, and I welcome you. I'm so happy that you joined us today. I am almost entirely surrounded by these particular species of critters, animals that we have as part of our taxidermy collection. Well, I have a very special treat. These are the stars of the show today. Not that I ever was a star of the show, but we are here together to work together because we can loan these out to you educators of the Detroit Public Schools Community District. We have cases that many of these have that fit over the artifacts to protect them, so you can actually have the children look at them very closely to examine their adaptations, for example, okay? We also have some that are like this little fella here that you could easily put into a display case. For example, the 10 species of squirrels found in Michigan, we have about every single species. Squirrels vary in size and shape, as you can see. They have very different types of habitats that they see. The ones I have in front here, the red squirrel, okay, the gray squirrel, the black squirrel, although it's a little bit different because he likes both areas, and the fox squirrel. They prefer to live in trees. And you can tell that they're living in trees. You can see them. You've been out watching, observing all your life, taking walks in the neighborhood. Remember, we have to share this world, okay? Consider being good stewards, the people who take care of this world, and we have to share this world with these animals. And we have quite a few different types here in Michigan, especially here in Detroit, okay? They eat all kinds of things. You may think that they're herbivores, animals that only eat vegetation, like this guy happens to be. This woodchuck, okay, which is a type of squirrel, is a vegetarian. Mostly grasses, maybe some type of sedges if it's near a marsh or wetland area. It's a type of grass, a water-loving grass. And contrary to popular belief, he is or she is sleeping on Groundhog's Day. You can debate about that. You can research more about Groundhog's Day, but this is the animal they're speaking of. As briefly mentioned, squirrels eat a variety of things. They're mostly vegetarians, herbivores. They like vegetation. They like peanuts, cashews, walnuts. Okay. They love vegetation like grasses sometimes, but they also eat insects. They also will eat eggs from what? Probably birds, right? All right. And they also eat young birds. Okay, so they like insects, birds, eggs. So in short, our squirrel friends are omnivorous, I would argue with you, or suggest to you, but you can research that. Omnivorous means that you eat both meat and vegetation. So most of us are omnivorous. Okay, what I have here in front of me are the squirrels that are tree dwellers. Those who are found entirely living, especially they're nesting in trees. What do they nest of? Do they use sticks? You've seen birds use sticks and twigs and things like that to make their nest. 99% of the time you've found a squirrel's nest. And they'll use fur from their bellies. The mama or the daddy will help build the nest. They'll pull to make a nice little warm spot inside their nest. So there you go. They will adapt to use what they can because it's nice and soft. It's warm for the winter time. It makes sense to me, right? Okay, so we're going to dig a little deeper. We're going to dig a little deeper and examine these a little more closely. All right, so these are the tree dwellers. We also have squirrels that are ground dwellers. Okay, we have the woodchuck and we have the chipmunk. Where do they live? They live in dens or burrows in the ground. You will not find them nesting, living in trees, especially this big guy. All right, so these two specimens we have are the ground dwellers, the types of squirrels. Did you know that a woodchuck, groundhog, is a squirrel? A chipmunk is a type of squirrel, right? These are the ground dwelling living squirrels, and the tree dwelling we have the red squirrel again, the gray squirrel, the black squirrel, and the fox squirrel. Very beautiful squirrels, specimens. Again, think about borrowing these from us. We can come to your school and set these up. We can use them in virtual lessons. You can use them in display cases with your principal's permission. In Michigan, not so much in Detroit have I seen, but in Michigan we have two species a flying squirrel. Have you ever seen a flying squirrel? You may not have, because they are entirely nocturnal. There are two species, the lower or southern flying squirrel and the upper or northern flying squirrel. And here we have one in our collection. Highly adapted for not flying, but really gliding. But they glide. They have a special membrane that attaches to their legs, their front and back legs, and they open it up, and just like this guy is positioned, they jump from one, open up, glide to another branch or a place, right? Probably from tree to tree, tree branch to tree branch, maybe to escape a predator or to find another place to live, maybe in search of food. They will go in different places like that. But they are nocturnal, which means what? They do their activities at night. I'm reading that these are entirely nocturnal. Whereas, or in contrast to the tree-dwelling squirrels that we have here in Michigan, the red, the gray, the black, and the fox squirrel, they are diurnal, which means you're going to see them most often if you go outside, walk around, maybe not in the dead of winter, but if you're taking a walk, you're in the park, because they do their activities, their things that they need to do to survive during the daytime when we are. So we are what? Are we nocturnal? Or are we diurnal? Okay? Decide that for yourselves. That's pretty good vocabulary, right? Build that vocabulary. It's very good for you. All right, we're going to take a look at this beautiful, beautiful gray squirrel a little more closely. What type of organism is this, or are squirrels? Okay, what I mean by that is, what class of animals, more particularly, do squirrels fall under? Okay, are they birds? Are they amphibians? Are they reptiles? Okay, you're absolutely correct. You're right. I hear mammals. They are mammals. What makes them a mammal? Mammals give birth to live young. Have you ever been fortunate enough to see a squirrel's nest? Hopefully from a distance. Please do not disturb the squirrels, especially the young ones. But they do give birth to live young. These are furred animals, or have hair, a big characteristic of mammals. Definitely a mammal. Definitely a mammal, absolutely. And look at its adaptation, okay? You can see the claws on its front and back feet, okay? Good for foraging, good for digging, good for finding something to eat and then dig a hole to store it for later, for wintertime. If they do wake up during their hibernation, which means to sleep through the winter, they do need to find a place to eat. And of all the squirrels, speaking of that, the red squirrel, this little fellow right here, more typically a smaller species of squirrel here in Michigan, the red squirrel is one of the hardest working squirrels. This little fella will find 50 to 60 nuts in 1 hour. Find it, bury it, but guess what? Someone did a study, a research study, and determined that in that study that they only have been able to find 4 of the 50 or 60 nuts that they've buried. Well, still hard working. We're going to take a look at some photos of baby squirrels, young squirrels. Okay? What do you see in the picture? How big are they when they are first born? You know, you see these photos. How big are they? What would you compare them to? Are they the same color when they're born as their parents? You know, when you're thinking about a career, a job and then a career as you get older and more knowledgeable, more learned, consider a field working with animals. A lot of my former students loved and still love animals. So a couple of them are now veterinarians. What is a veterinarian? Right? It's a doctor that works with animals and helps to cure and treat sick animals. And Michigan State University here in Michigan is a great veterinary school. So consider that. Another type of career I'm thinking of is a research scientist. I mentioned earlier about research scientists who discovered through their research, determined that the red squirrel is one of the hardest, if not the hardest working squirrels of the species that we have here in Michigan. Another type of career would be someone that's a conservationist. Our conservationists would work alongside state and federal agencies like the DNR or the Army Corps of Engineers, protecting our coastal lands, waterways, protecting the animals and fish. Maybe you'd like to work at the zoo. We have a beautiful world-class Detroit Zoo here in our area. Maybe serving as a veterinary scientist. Maybe you are someone who's a zookeeper, someone who specializes in the treatment or care for lions or big cats like tigers. A zookeeper or someone who works at the zoo. Well, I hope you enjoyed our video. I certainly did. I learned even myself through talking to you and sharing with you some of my knowledge about squirrels. It helps to reinforce in my brain my understanding of these beautiful creatures. And here in Michigan, please stay tuned to our DPSCD YouTube page. We're going to start posting our previously edited and approved videos on our Facebook page, Detroit Children's Museum. And Mr. Don, as always, has a slide for you to look at towards the end of this video, and it gives his information on how to contact him. And of course, you can contact myself. I'm Mr. C, closing for both of us. Mr. Don's behind the camera. Goodbye, have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.